Hello everyone and welcome to the first round of the Adult GP at K1 Speed for 2025. This is the year that I am going to try and qualify for the state and national finals, and this is round 1 of 12 that we are taking part in right here, right now. I had started off the day on a really high note, as the arrive and drives beforehand I had set the lap record. It has fallen since then, but it fell to one of my teammates, so I can't be too mad. That being said, I was starting off the day in a very good mood. Felt quick, I felt efficient, and I wanted to keep that going into this qualifying. As we started off the qualifying, I was in second position, and my goal here was to get into clean air as quick as possible because I figured it would be better than making space. Lucky for me, right here on turn 2, the door was left open, and so I snuck in and moved into that first position. Now, I had given myself a lot of space and a lot of time to be able to try and set a couple quick laps in clear air. I wanted that clear air so that I could try and get the most interrupted lap time possible, but that still meant I had to put down the time. Unfortunately, my cart was not working with me, and I had to adjust a little bit during these first couple of laps to A, get the cart to warm up, and B, get myself into the groove of everything during this qualifying. Yes, I had done races prior, but there's something a little bit different about qualifying for these events that kind of gets your heart racing and in a lot of ways resets everything that you've done. Even if you warmed up, doesn't always make what's going to happen in the qualifying clear. Anyways, I had gone through and I was making my time as quick as I could. I had finally started to feel comfortable in the cart, and with that, I had started to pick up the pace a little bit. I'd found what my cart liked and what it didn't like, so I knew where I needed to adjust. I kept clipping walls, which wasn't good, but that's okay. It's something that we can clean up during the next couple of laps until we start to get into traffic. Again, this is a 12 lap qualifier, 14 lap qualifier, so it goes very, very quickly. You have to really get in your groove, find your rhythm, and just do the best that you can. It is a lot of pressure, but with the clear air, it made it a lot easier for me to just be able to hit my marks, hit my times, and push as hard as I could while making sure I wasn't overdriving the cart. This cart had a tendency to skip when I was on exits, so that means I needed to slow down a little bit more than normal on my entries so that I could make sure that the cart was nice and stable to hit the times that I was going for. My goal during these qualifiers, I was shooting for a 25.4 if possible. I knew that that time would put me in a good position to potentially have a great start for the race, and if I could have a good qualifying start for the race, I would be able to best my position from last month, which was 8th place. That was my initial goal, and I simply wanted to do as good as I could, but I was feeling quick, I was feeling competitive, I really wanted to see if I could bring it home. Now, we have started to move up, and our clear air is starting to dissipate, and we're moving into traffic. I wanted to keep pushing though, instead of backing off and giving more space, because I felt like I needed practice for overtaking and getting through traffic. That person pulled off and let me by. They were probably more focused on their qualifying time, but I was now using this after running a 25.5 as a way to practice through and work my way through traffic. It was inevitable that we were going to have traffic because there were quite a few people. Now, here I thought that person was going to let me through. They went side by side with me, and I made a mistake. I apologized and kind of kept going. It is qualifying. If this had been a race, I probably would have given that position back, as I had literally cut them off into the wall. Yes, I was technically ahead, but no, it wasn't done cleanly, and therefore I probably would have felt better about moving back and working my way back into that position. As we continued around the track, I started to notice that there were a couple more people in front of me, and I had worked my way well into the pack at this point, so there was not going to be a lot of clear air left to use. This may have been the last clean lap that I was going to get. So again, I went back into practice mode, where I wanted to try and get past people cleanly and efficiently, so that in case we had back markers in the race, I was ready to deal with maneuvering through them. Now, on the end of this lap, I'd gone through and already been in that spot to let... No, that was my last clean lap. This person tried to let me through and went, but I was trying to let them through because this was the last lap, and I was trying to make sure that their qualifying time hadn't been affected. Unfortunately, I think we kind of were both trying to be polite, and it kind of cost us both in terms of lap time. I didn't want to ruin his qualifying, and I didn't want to cause issues, so you can see me here backing off a bit, just trying not to make him feel uncomfortable, because I felt like I had already done the time. An unfortunate misunderstanding through that last lap, but it is what it is. At the end of that qualifying, I had come around and placed second with a 25.547.
Hey, I'm sorry for this corner. I'm sorry, I thought I left enough room, and as I turned in and I felt the contact, I was like, I did not leave enough room, so my bad.
Just trying to... Well, I was waving you around.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to let you go because I had already like come up on you on that last lap, and so I didn't want to try and ruin your last lap because I had already like gotten the time, and so I was trying to let you go through. Oh. So, mild miscommunication. Sorry about that.
Wheel burner.
Yeah, nice grind all the way through, huh?
Try to stay out of your way this time.
Oh no, you're good, man. Thank you, sir. All right, we want to try and get at least a 0.4. That is the goal. The tires don't look so hot.
Now, on to the second qualifying. As you can see, I was trying to get all of the marbling that had been left over on the tires off of the cart, and I noticed that there was something strange going on with the front right tire of my cart. Not entirely sure if it was just worn or if it was just a discoloration, but there was definitely something strange there. Now, my goal here was to get a 25.4. I wanted to try and once again make use of the clear air that I had been given, as I started in the front this time, after placing second in the last qualifier. Now this was the same group of qualifiers, and the person who had placed first was the champion of last year's GP. We were running really close in times, and I just wanted to try and improve to get either up to his time or potentially even pass him. I was currently sitting in second in terms of qualifying, and that was a really, really good sign for this event for me. Now, this kart almost felt the opposite of the last kart. Once the tires got warm after lap 2 or maybe 3, I started to feel quite comfortable with the kart, but I found myself lacking a bit of attention because I was worried about the traffic behind me. See, the person behind me at the moment was, in fact, last year's champion, and I had started to focus on him being there instead of focusing on my own driving. I told myself to pay attention, I reset, and I went from there. Once I had gotten through all of that, I really started to pick up the pace and really started to enjoy being in that race with him. He's a very fast driver, and it was cool to be able to lead and see what was happening. Eventually, though, I started to notice that every single lap, he was catching me more and more and more. And I think that was because I just simply couldn't keep the kart quite as stable as I wanted to. I would get very confident in certain corners, and then the kart would skip. And then I'd make a small mistake, and the process would repeat itself. So, eventually, I just let him through and waved him on by. I figured this is a great opportunity to watch and to follow and see what he does differently than me. Right off the bat, I noticed a change. Through turn 6, the sharp left at the end of the corner, he does a quick brake tap, and that is actually extremely crucial for setting up the exits into the final long right-hand turn. Every single time he seemed to kind of pull on me from there, and I would start to catch him through the rest of the lap until about there. And once again, here he goes, pulling on me. And I just noticed that that little brake tap made such a huge difference for shifting the kart and getting it to sit where you want in the left-hander. My goal here was simply to keep up with this driver. He's the champion from last year. He's been the champion before. He is widely talked about as the most consistent, quickest driver in the facility. And so I just wanted to see what I could do and see if I could stay with him. I figured if I can stay with him, I've got a really, really good shot at making something happen throughout the year, and especially for today's event. Now, there were moments in time where he started to pull on me, and I could see that every single lap as we were in the clear air, he would just have that little bit more, and I was just falling behind. Some corners I would catch up, but most of the time it just turned into my small mistakes increasing the gap from him to me. Now, as we came up on traffic, we were both in a spot where, well, we needed to make some changes. I think he was pretty happy with where he had put himself on the board so far, so we both kind of just kept going as the traffic was coming up to us. I was enjoying the race. I think he was as well. And so we just kind of kept going. Now you can see sometimes into turn 1 he would lose the rear a little bit, and he told me that that's because he's been experimenting with his braking point, trying to push it further and further to the apex as the karts have changed over the years. Less decel means more braking, and that's just what he had to do. Now, the first person we met in traffic just pulled off, and then he's able to skate through there, and I tried to skate through on the next corner, but I didn't quite leave enough of a gap and ended up accidentally bumping that person out for qualifying. My bad. I'm sorry. I thought I had left the room, and unfortunately that was once again the same person that I had hit in the previous qualifying, and so, yeah. Apologies if you're watching this. I'm sorry. Now, as we come around these last couple of corners, I really started to change how I was approaching the corners and trying to adjust to what the driver in front of me was doing. So, at that point, we had come through, and the second qualifier had finished with me at a 25.508.
Just off my .4. Gotta look forward more. I did better when I looked forward more.
Hi, Marshall.
What's up, Jason?
You know, another day,
Another
pole position for you.
Oh, for me, yeah, 100%.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me get the webcam or the pole standings off so you can get in who's beside you. Hey, how about you interview?
Oh, me interview?
Yeah,
Anthony?
you interview him.
How are my questions? I'm gonna need you to feedback some questions.
You don't have your little note card there with all your pre-written questions? Yeah, there you go.
Gotta blink. Okay.
Got it.
Was he?
I was gonna ask you, what do you think of the carts?
They're fun. They're individualized. You know, you really gotta figure out how each cart wants to go fast, which is a good thing, but it also throws me off when, especially the last one, right? It felt consistent at the start, and then when it warmed up, I didn't feel as consistent in it anymore, which was the exact opposite of the first cart, where I didn't feel consistent until it warmed up, and then it felt consistent. So.
That's a great way to put that.
I do like that way, yes.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your adaptability to each and every cart? Is that something you're honing into, like you're getting better at?
Yeah, definitely. I think that adaptability has always been one of my stronger suits, especially coming from sim racing and racing with guys who are way faster than me. Typically, they will give me a setup that they believe is good, and when I can't drive it, they tell me to just get better. I like to adapt to the carts. I think that's one of my stronger suits in general.
That's how I am with myself. I tell myself, just drive it better.
Yeah.
He came to the GP series last month, right?
Did you come to GPs last month, December?
December was my first one.
Yeah. And so now he's settling in, planning on doing the whole 12 months?
Are you planning to do the whole 12 months this year?
Yes, I do plan to do the entire 12 months. No matter what happens with results, I want to see how I can do with the entire series. So
I'll see you out in Cali next year.
I appreciate that.
I feel like you're gonna get there because, like,
Oh shoot, how about that? Okay.
I know I will miss April 1st of this year.
Okay.
Well, not April 1st. I'll be out in California practicing, but April I will miss.
You're going out for
But if I can just stack up points, then I'll be chilling.
Better watch out for that lab traffic.
Yep, that's going to be the difficult part. All right, y'all, we are starting from third.
Now, at the time of that qualifying ending, I had been in second place, but during the final qualifier for the other group, another driver had squeezed between Marshall and myself, who was the person I was following. Now that put me in third at the start of the race. My goal was to stay there if I could, but as you're about to see, there was a lot of chaos that went on through this race. Hopefully I can stay in third, but we are starting from the best position we have ever started from, so either way, today is a big win. The lights went green and we were away. Immediately, I started to notice a problem. Now, before the race, the leader had warned me that my cart was not very good, or that he didn't like the cart and thought it was a bit strange. And almost immediately, I understood what he was saying, as it was a little bit loose and it simply did not want to go through that final right-hand turn. I did everything I could to just try and drive through the downfalls of the cart and stick with these guys. These two guys are extremely fast, and My goal was to just try and stay with them while also not opening the door to the driver behind me. The driver behind me was also very, very fast, and he got a cart that I personally really enjoy, and that I was even told was a strong cart once again by the leader of the race. So I knew I had my work cut out for me. My goal? Don't be too defensive, just drive my lines and stick with those guys, and be defensive enough to make sure that I didn't open gaps and allow for opportunities for the driver behind to pass me. Now, we were extremely evenly matched. We were flying through these corners, all four of us, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but then my cart started to kind of get to me. Especially as it warmed up, it seemed to just get worse and worse and worse. It really didn't want to make that right-hand turn, and I really had to focus on driving around it while maintaining as much speed as I could around that final corner. My exits were a lot wider than I would have liked them to be. I normally don't exit that far out to the left during this next right-hander here. So as you can see, I'm drifting outside of the crack of the concrete, and that is too far. Unfortunately, it was the best that this cart seemed to want to do, and I knew that that was the corner that I was going to need to baby the cart around as much as possible. The worst part about that is it leads into the one and only straightaway, more or less, on the track. And as you can see, it is just starting to hurt me. Every single time we came out from around that corner, I just lost time on the two guys in front. And I was trying everything I could just to stay with them. But as I started to push more and more and more, I started to make more tiny little mistakes. Clipping the inside barriers was really slowing me down. Now, through that last right turn, I was able to kind of correct it and find a decent line to fix it. But we were going to be working our way up into the traffic here soon. See, there was a very large grid that was going on. I believe we were 15 drivers deep on this tiny track, and that is a lot of people with not a lot of space. That being said, the traffic was going to be a huge determining factor. My goal was to just try and get through this traffic as clean as possible and stick with these guys. I had to really maintain my composure and think about when and where to pass these people that we were about to come around and lap. As you can see, we're starting to get closer and closer to them, and it's going to start to become a factor here soon. Almost immediately as we met the traffic, I got stuck for a little while. Now, 4 is not a good place to pass, 5 is a good place to pass, but the cart in front of me lost traction, not once, but twice, and I ended up bumping them both times, which cost me a ton of time. Luckily, on the very first corner, I was able to send it up the inside and make a nice clean pass, but we were immediately into another back marker and another potential issue for passing. I was trying to be nice, and I tried to get into that spot as nice as I could, but then the person behind me bumped the back marker through, and because of that, I ended up going wide, and they were able to undercut me. Now I had 2 new goals, but immediately I was hit by the lap traffic and stuck into yet another position where I couldn't make a pass. And my opponent, who had just passed me for 3rd place, well, they got through clean, and I was stuck behind the back marker for another 2 laps. Now we're coming back into turn 1. I kept myself on the inside and was able to use my priority, but again I was pushed through turn 2, and which compromised my entrance into turn 3. And at this point, my opponent, who had passed me for 3rd place, well, he was pretty much gone. I didn't have a lot of time, but I knew what I needed to do. I needed to keep my head down, I needed to put in good laps, and now use this open air and hope that I could make it back up to potentially make a pass onto the person in third. Currently sitting in fourth place, this would still be my best finish, but heartbreaking to lose a podium in that way through the traffic. I kept pushing and kept moving and kept trying my best. I just knew there was an inevitable thing happening. I was running out of time. I could feel myself catching, and I could feel myself making up the time that I had lost, but would it be enough? Would I be able to actually catch him? And if I did catch him, could I then find an area and space to make a move to get through? We started to come up on more traffic, and I knew I really needed to make my way through this traffic cleanly as well. Because if I had made yet another mistake, we were going to really have no chance of making up any of that time. Now, I was a little bit more patient. I knew that I was more or less only able to make moves if I could, but I ran out of time and was unable to catch the person in third. Heartbreaking to say the least, but still, it was my best result yet. It's only my second GP ever, and it's only the first race of the year. I started out the year with a fourth place. I qualified in third, and I know that I have a lot more that I will be able to do in the future races. We've got 11 more rounds, so please stick with me to see how the rest of them go. If you liked the video, I really hope that you stick around and watch the other ones as well. There are 11 more events to go in the series, and hopefully I'll be able to keep up a consistent and high level of driving so that I can potentially make it and qualify for states, and then we can try and qualify for nationals. There's a new K1 that just opened up in my area, or in the same state, so we will have to actually compete for it, but we'll keep you up to date on that when we get there. First things first, we need to qualify for states. Thank you for watching.